Well, Jared, I mean, this was always a big fight from the moment it got announced, right? But now co-main event, a pay-per-view, I mean, big time. I don't know, does this have a special feel about it?
Yes, it does, definitely. Super excited. Eyes are on us, and I think, I think we are the true main event right now. Not to take anything away from the main event, but those guys are really stoic, and I'm not the most charismatic person at times, but Paddy sure is, and I think it's going to be a great fight. Super excited, can't wait to get in there.
What do you make of that? I mean, obviously, he's a charismatic dude, right? He brings a lot of attention. You kind of blue-collar grinding in the shadows or whatever. So, I mean, what do you think facing a guy like this, boisterous like this?
I think it's great, man. I think he's great for the sport. I like him. I liked him from the start, even before UFC when he was in Cage Warriors. And, to get a chance to get in there with someone like him, I put myself right in this position to be in this moment. Everything that I did, I walked left, I walked right, I lost, I won, and it led me right here. So it's just an opportunity that I have to seize, just like anything else in life, and that's what I'm going to do.
Have you felt like a responsibility, I guess, to maybe come out of your shell a little bit or whatever, or to kind of be a little more out there in this role, in this fight?
Not necessarily. People don't really know me that well, I don't think. If you, hung out with me for a couple hours, you'd be like, this is not who, we think he is. But, I have a responsibility to, set a good example, I think. So, but, I could be fun too.
Personality aside, what do you make of Paddy as a martial artist? I mean, there seems to be some debate. It's just how good he really is. Knowing that you've been watching him since his Cage Warriors days, what do you make of him as a martial artist?
I think he's dangerous. I think he's unpredictable. And I think that he's got a lot of tricks up his sleeves. And he's a good grappler, and that was his base. But he goes for it standing. He kicks. Flying knees. Big punches. And this is MMA. This isn't boxing. This isn't, kickboxing. There's so many variables that, I'll spar with amateurs, and I'm like, why am I getting my ass kicked right now? So I'm looking at it like this is the best fighter that I've ever fought, and I'm not looking past him whatsoever.
Do you think his grappling stacks up with the guys you've just faced? I mean, you faced a couple high-level grapplers in a row. I
mean, listen, he's tricky. He does more dynamic movements, like flying arm bars, flying triangles. He takes the back really well also. Do I think he's necessarily as solid as a grappler as, say, Grant Dawson or Joe Selecki? I don't know. I guess I'll find out Saturday night. But I'm ready for it. And, people, I'm not subbing guys constantly, so people are like, oh, he's just a positional guy. But, I think that my grappling is up there with all those guys. So, fight's a fight, and I just got to be the man that shows up that night.
Last thing for me, a big win for you here. I'm just curious where you think this puts you, right? Because it's not really about a ranking or a position, but it's obviously a huge opportunity and a lot of eyeballs. So where do you see yourself going with the victory here?
I think it gets me a shot at the top 15 at least, but you know how this sport is, man. 3 fights and you're champion. Look at Jiri, right? He had 3 fights, right, or 4 fights, and he was who's to say? Who's really making those rankings anyways? So I'm not really worried about that, but obviously I want to climb the ladder, and that's what I'm going to do.
Jared, to your right. If I hung out with you for a day, what would I find out?
Oh, God. Do you really want me to tell you? Man, I don't want to go there. But, I had a whole other life, before I was trying to be an example for people. So I lived in a way that was, not necessarily the most holy or godly way. But, yeah, man, I come from New York. My mother's Catholic Sicilian. My father's an English Jew. My grandparents were born and raised in London, just for all the Brits out there. I'm I'm half Brit. So, the household, the way we spoke, I've been cursing since I'm like 3 years old. So you could use your imagination, and it's fun. We have fun.
I wonder what, he got a lot of attention for that speech he made after the last fight, and I thought of you when he was talking about that because you've done a lot of stuff like that. And have you ever wondered why maybe you haven't taken off the way he did after that? He had that thing and kind of just blew up and gets a co-main event, and, you're kind of still, fighting that battle, right?
I wonder a lot of things, but this is, well, I know why, because I'm from America, and he's from Liverpool, and he has a whole city behind him, right? And the Americans like to tear down their athletes, and there's so many of us in the UFC, so who are they going to get behind? You know what I mean? You see guys come from different countries. Look at Conor. The guy had a country behind him. Khabib. He's got Russia behind him. Oh, you're from New York? Go F yourself. And that's like the saying. And, you walk down the street in New York and it's like, hey, fuck you. You're like, yeah, fuck you too. It's just like how we are. So, but as Americans in general, it's like, let's tear our athletes down instead of support them. Oh, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, I was just saying, New York is bigger than Liverpool.
Yeah, but that's a problem in itself. Who's Jared Gordon? How many people are from New York? So,
I assume the fact that, he has had so much hype behind him made it more attractive to you when the fight was, announced, because now you have a guy that a lot of people are going to tune in to see, and that puts you in the spotlight that way. Do you look at it like that, and that maybe you beat him, you take some of his shine?
Yeah, I gotta go in there and do what I gotta do. Like, perfect example, right? Masvidal versus Darren Till. And look what happened to Masvidal. It seemed like they were going towards, all right, this is Till's night, and then Masvidal did what he did. And then it was like, all right, let's make him into a superstar now. So yeah, that's what I have to do, and that's what's going to happen.
So, you referenced, you don't want to go there when you talked about your personal life and everything. But if you become that superstar, right, that's going to put that kind of pressure on you, the spotlight, and you're going to have the cameras following you around, and you get a lot more. Are you mentally prepared to deal with all that stuff, that if you get to the absolute top level and you're another